Hungry lion spots lost child in the jungle. What happens next will leave you speechless. The African savanna shimmered under the relentless blaze of the midday sun. Waves of heat rippled across the golden grasslands, painting a mirage of water that wasn't there. Cicadas filled the air with their rhythmic drone, while vultures circled ominously in the cloudless sky. It was a place of raw beauty and unforgiving peril. A faint rustle in the grass signaled movement. Amber eyes, sharp and calculating, peered through the tall blades. It was a lion, muscular, majestic, and lethal. His tawny coat blended seamlessly with the terrain, but his gleaming mane betrayed his presence. This was Kovu, the undisputed king of this territory. Ahead of him, oblivious to the danger, stumbled a small figure. A child. Barefoot and trembling, his tiny frame seemed dwarfed by the endless wilderness. His name was Henry, a boy of 7, lost and alone in a place where survival required claws, fangs, or the wits of an experienced hunter. Henry's breathing was labored, each gasp punctuated by the sobs he fought to contain. He clutched his side, his small body weakened by hours of wandering under the punishing sun. Somewhere in the distance, a lion's low growl reverberated, and Henry froze. His wide eyes darted around, scanning the grasses, but saw nothing. Kovu crept closer, each step deliberate, his powerful muscles rippling beneath his golden coat. The predator's gaze locked onto the child. His tail swayed low, a predatory rhythm that promised one thing, death. But then Kovu paused. His nostrils flared, catching something strange in the air. Not fear, though it was there. It was desperation, a scent not of prey, but of fragility. The lion's ears flicked as he tilted his head, curious. For a moment, the jungle held its breath. Henry's story. Henry had grown up in a small village, nestled at the edge of the forest. His grandmother, Amina, had raised him after his parents passed away in a tragic flood. She was his world, a beacon of warmth and safety. That morning, Henry had been traveling with a group of villagers to the next town when their battered bus broke down on a remote road. While the adults worked to fix the vehicle, Henry had wandered off, chasing a brightly colored butterfly into the tall grass. But the butterfly vanished, and so did the road. When Henry realized he was lost, panic consumed him. He called for help until his voice gave out, but no one came. Hours turned into an eternity, and the savannah grew more menacing with every passing moment. Kovu was no ordinary lion. His once thriving pride had been decimated by drought and poaching. Now, he roamed alone, a solitary king without a throne. Survival was his only companion. Kovu had learned to navigate the savannah's dangers through instinct and strength, but something within him had hardened. His encounters with humans, those strange creatures who wielded fire and steel, had always been marked by violence. Yet, as he observed the trembling child before him, something stirred in his chest. It was a faint echo of a memory, a time when he had protected his own cubs, before they were taken from him. Henry turned and saw him. The lion stood mere feet away, a towering figure of raw power. His mane glistened like molten gold in the sunlight, and his amber eyes burned with an intensity that rooted Henry to the spot. Tears streamed down the boy's cheeks, but he didn't scream. His body trembled, yet something in the lion's gaze held him captive, not fear, but an odd stillness. Kovu took a step closer, his massive paw pressing into the dry earth. Henry closed his eyes, bracing for the end. But it didn't come. Instead, Kovu sat. His tail wrapped around his body, and his gaze softened. Henry opened his eyes, confused. The lion didn't move. It was as if he was waiting. Henry's breath slowed. Tentatively, he shifted to sit cross-legged in the grass, mirroring the lion's posture. Minutes passed, the two figures locked in a strange, unspoken understanding. As the sun dipped lower, the shadows lengthened, and the savannah began to stir with nocturnal life. Kovu rose and turned his head, his ears twitching. A hyena's laughter echoed in the distance, and the lion let out a low growl, a warning. To Henry's astonishment, Kovu positioned himself between the boy and the sound. The night was alive with predators. Eyes glinted in the darkness, and the calls of unseen creatures filled the air. Henry huddled close to Kovu, his small frame dwarfed by the lion's muscular body. A pack of hyenas emerged from the shadows, their eyes gleaming with malice. They yipped and cackled, circling the unlikely pair. Henry's heart pounded as he clutched a stick, though he knew it was useless. Kovu's growl deepened, a guttural sound that sent shivers down Henry's spine. The lion took a step forward, his mane bristling, and roared, a thunderous declaration of dominance that shook the very ground. The hyenas hesitated, their laughter faltering. But hunger made them bold. One lunged, snapping its jaws, and Kovu retaliated with a swipe of his massive paw, sending the attacker sprawling. The fight was fierce. Kovu moved with the grace of a predator and the fury of a protector, his claws and teeth flashing in the moonlight. Henry watched in awe, his fear mingled with admiration. Finally, the hyenas retreated, their courage shattered. Kovu stood tall, his chest heaving, and let out a final roar that echoed across the plains. As silence returned, Kovu turned to Henry. The boy hesitated, then reached out with trembling fingers to touch the lion's mane. It was coarse yet warm, a tactile promise of safety. By dawn, the pair reached the edge of the savannah. In the distance, Henry saw figures, villagers searching for him. Relief washed over him, but it was tinged with sadness. He turned to Kovu, who stood watching, his amber eyes unreadable. As the villagers approached, shouting Henry's name, the lion backed away. Henry's voice cracked as he whispered, "Thank you." Kovu gave a final, solemn look before disappearing into the tall grass. Henry's story spread quickly, becoming a legend in his village. People spoke of the lion who defied his nature to protect a child, a tale that resonated far beyond the savannah. Years later, Henry returned to the place where it all began. He had grown into a conservationist, dedicating his life to protecting the animals that had once saved him. As he stood on the edge of the savannah, now a thriving sanctuary, Henry felt a presence. A shadow moved in the grass, and for a fleeting moment, he thought he saw a pair of amber eyes watching him. Compassion, he realized, knows no boundaries, not between humans and animals, nor between predator and prey.